She's got the coupons. We'll see you next week.
Deep in the heart of Texas, an oasis builds.
I was a no star, no offer guy out of high school.
In the open fields.
Josh was 0. He had 0 stars.
Under the highest pressure.
Went the junior college route. You really wanted to obtain a scholarship. I did that. Had one offer, that was the University of Wyoming.
Time. Molding the crude into the pristine.
No doubt he plays with a chip on his shoulder.
When I step on the field, like I'm trying to embarrass your team.
Fun.
I think he's got a chance to be special.
Rising.
I think it's all about number 17. The ball couldn't be thrown any better.
I'd say he has got a cannon for an arm, folks.
Intensifying.
And now he'll throw it, show you the arm strength. Back to the end zone, caught! Touchdown!
Josh Allen gets it done.
That's a hose.
Now, they're ready to be unearthed.
It's not about going as high as possible. It's going as high as possible to the right team.
Most of the quarterback coaches that need a QB would love to get their hands on him.
Unveiled to the bright lights of the big stage.
You know, there's one thing about me. I do love the game of football, and this is the only thing I've ever wanted, you know, for my entire life is to be an NFL quarterback. So.
It is Josh Allen Day on NFL Live. There is Josh Allen showing up for his pro nation. The look is intense. Hugh Jackson, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, of course, sit atop the NFL draft. Hugh also attended Sam Darnold's pro day on Wednesday, so take it how you will. Welcome to NFL Live. Field Yates, Ryan Clark, and Dan Graziano, Jack Collinsworth. A day that we have had underlined for a long time. Very shortly, we'll be heading to Wyoming to get a live look at Josh Allen's Brett Favre-esque right arm. Rumor has it he might try to break a record or two along the way throughout this workout. Let's tell you who Josh Allen is. Get to know this Wyoming quarterback just a little bit. Grew up 3,000 miles. This is in California, Fireball, California, a little small town, 40 miles from Fresno. Allen received 0 D1 scholarship offers out of high school, but was awarded one to Wyoming. 1 year after spending time in JUCO, he went 16-10 as a starter for the Cowboys, including 2-0 against ranked teams. And Allen is Mel Kiper Jr.'s top quarterback prospect. With Pro Day just about 25 minutes or so away, we'll send it out to Wyoming, where Todd McShay and Mark Schwartz are holding it down. Fellas, take it away.
All right, Jack, welcome to Laramie, Wyoming. Josh Allen country, the big sky and the big arm. His college coach, Craig Bolds, here. He told me this morning, you're going to hear the football when Josh Allen throws it. And he also said that don't be surprised if Josh unleashes a 90-yard pass in this particular pro day. Is that something that you're expecting to see, Todd?
That's what I've heard he's going to do. And, you know, nothing will surprise me when it comes to his arm and his arm strength. The real question, though, for me is the natural accuracy. And I think that's what NFL teams are looking for here today. Again, no defense. You're not throwing with pads. It's a scripted workout, but it's an opportunity to show. Listen, he didn't have a great supporting cast this last year. He lost 4 guys from his offense that wound up in the NFL at some point last season, and they just really struggled, the receivers, to get open, to make contested catches. And I think what you want to see here today is, especially 2 days after a lot of these guys, including myself, were at USC and saw Sam Darnold in the pouring rain make every throw and precisely where the ball was supposed to be spotted. You want to see if he can bring that same natural accuracy to the table, because the number you're going to hear a lot in the next month leading up to the draft, 56.1%. You got to go back probably to Matthew Stafford to find a guy who's had under 60% in college in terms of completion percentage and has had sustained success in the NFL. And for every Stafford, there's about 20 guys out there that have failed.
Now, we're not going to see any pouring rain in here. We're inside the bubble in Laramie, but there are 17 NFL teams represented here. Hugh Jackson, I saw him at the hotel. The Browns delegation is the largest with 8, but not far behind. The Jets have 5 people here. The Giants have people here. The Broncos have 5 people here. The Arizona Cardinals, who need a quarterback eventually, have someone here. Which of those teams do you think, Todd, might be most interested in Josh Allen?
I think for Cleveland, from everything I can gather, it's coming down to Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. Those are the two that they seem to be most enamored with over Josh Rosen from UCLA and Oklahoma's Baker Mayfield. So you start there at pick number 1. They also have pick number 4. The Giants keep saying that they're not going to take a quarterback. I tend to believe them, but does that mean that the quarterback doesn't go number 2 with a team like Buffalo? 5 picks in the top 65, moving up to number 2 to get ahead of the Jets that just moved up to number 3. And the Jets are very likely, you're not moving up to number 3 if you're not taking a quarterback, giving away 3 second-round picks. So I think there's a real legitimate chance we see 1, 2, 3 with quarterbacks coming off the board. And I think Allen, if it's not number 1 overall, could easily go 2. And I don't think he would get past the Jets at number 3 if he was available.
Now, in about a half hour, we're going to watch this guy unfurl this arm and see this velocity and strength. But you've watched him very closely on tape. Right. What have you seen?
I have seen inconsistency with accuracy, but I've also seen some plays and throws that you rarely see from a college player. I covered him in the conference championship game 2 years ago. Here you see in the bowl game. His ability to feel the pressure, to get outside the pocket and extend plays is really outstanding. But with every one of those great throws that you see down the field, you're going to see some throws where he's not, his footwork isn't right. He's throwing off balance. He's throwing back against the grain and into coverage. And so from the decision-making standpoint and from an accuracy standpoint, there are some kinks that have to be worked out. But if you can get him with the right coach and developed properly, he's got a chance to be really special at the next level.
Yeah, Craig Bold told us that he really does need a great mentor, a great teacher at the NFL level. He is not going to be ready right away. The right guy can take this guy to his ceiling, and his upside is considerable, Jack.
Todd and Mark, thank you very much. We will get back out to you shortly, but there is some moves happening around the NFL. Ryan, we'll start to you. The Dolphins signed 34-year-old Frank Gore to a 1-year deal. What do you make of it?
I mean, Frank Gore is the guy that just won't stop. Look at all of these the University of Miami running backs. Frank Gore wasn't the one you talked about coming out. He goes to San Francisco, builds a career there. We're talking about a guy who was consistently giving you 1,000 yards a year, rushed for over 900 yards last year. He can't go be the bell cow there after 13 years of playing running back, but he can be a spellback. He can be a guy that's running back part of a committee, and I think he'll do a good job going back home and giving them a serviceable running back to be a part of that group along with Kenyon Drake.
Speaking of former Miami Hurricanes, Alan Hearns, recently released by the Jacksonville Jaguars, is going to Dallas to be a part of the Cowboys' offensive attack, which has been retooled this offseason. They also signed Deontay Thompson. It's a 2-year deal. He told Josina Anderson, I'm signing with the Cowboys. He, of course, also visited the New York Jets. People reading into this and saying, is this about Des Bryant's future? I wouldn't go that far. Maybe tied more to Terrence Williams' health, and also a depth-level move for a nice player that became available somewhat unexpectedly after signing a lucrative deal with Jacksonville a couple off seasons ago.
Wide receiver Terrell Pryor agreeing to a deal with the Jets. This is big for the Jets, trying to revamp their wide receiver core. Pryor, 1,000-yard receiver at Cleveland, obviously less of a year last year in Washington. He's heading into really just his 4th year as a full-time wide receiver, former college quarterback who admits when you talk to him that he still has a lot to work on in terms of perfecting that craft of wide receiver. Chance for him to bounce back in a big way in New York.
One more wide receiver move of note, Mike Wallace goes to the other Pennsylvania team that he has not yet played for. Former Pittsburgh Steeler, and of course, most recently, Baltimore Raven is heading to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. It's a 1-year deal worth a maximum of $4 million. 20th of the trade campaign gives the Eagles an element of vertical speed opposite guys like Alshon Jeffrey and also Nelson Aguilar. Mike Wallace, the newest piece of the Philly puzzle.
There you go. Mike Wallace is on the move. Jason Pierre-Paul, the trade that unfolded for us yesterday, he now goes to Tampa. We'll tell you how that impacts the Giants draft board, and Josh Allen's workout is coming your way live when we return. Their 2018 4th-round pick to the Bucs for 3rd and 4th-round picks in 2018. JPP was quite disruptive for the G-men. He batted 39 passes since 2010. That is the 2nd most in the NFL, behind only J.J. Watt. We welcome in now Giants reporter Jordan Renan. Before we spin ahead, let's go back to yesterday. JPP was a Giant for 8 seasons. What was the internal reaction to him being traded?
Yeah, I spoke to him and texted with a bunch of players. They were surprised because there was no inkling that this move was about to happen. Even according to multiple sources, JPP himself had no idea it was about to go down. So in that regard, they were surprised. But in regards to the Giants shaking up this defense, which a lot of them admitted was dysfunctional last year and even toxic maybe in that locker room, they're not surprised to see all these players getting moved and players moving on. Look, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie was cut. A defensive captain, Jonathan Casillas, is not back. Now JPP's gone. So they know, new regime, there's going to be a lot of changes, especially on that defensive side of the ball. So in that regard, they sort of expected some of these moves.
So, Jordan, here's the big question now. So what does it mean for the number 2 overall pick in the draft?
Yeah, to me, when I look at that, it means seeing this trade, it means the Giants are more likely to actually move out of the number 2 spot maybe than we thought before. Because if you look at all their other moves this offseason, right, they committed to Eli Manning. They signed a 31-year-old running back, a soon-to-be 30-year-old left tackle to a record deal. All those moves stated, look, this team is in it to win now. Even Alec Ogletree, that trade, that's a middle linebacker for $10 million. But now you look at this trade and you say, hey, maybe the Giants are at least open to saying, hey, we have to think about the future as well as we move forward here. And with that number 2 pick, they're in a really power position considering a quarterback might go 1, quarterback's likely to go 3. Some team is likely to want to come up and get that pick. The Giants could get a big haul for it. And the Bills, we know, they're one team that's desperately trying to move up. There's probably others out there that the Giants could get a lot from.
Jordan, thank you very much, sir. Now for more draft buzz from NFL Nation, here's Rich Cimini with the Jets.
Thanks, Jack. The Jets are focused on quarterbacks with the 3rd pick, and right now their top decision makers are in Laramie, Wyoming for Josh Allen's pro day. The Jets really like Josh Allen. That's what I'm hearing. They're in the midst of a 4-quarterback, 3-city tour across America this week. They were in L.A. for Darnold and Rosen, today in Wyoming for Allen, and tomorrow they'll have a private workout with Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma. A total of 6,100 miles of scouting. This is an important stretch for the Jets as they go back to stack their draft board for the final time. Now for the latest on the Broncos draft buzz, let's go over to Jeff Legwold.
Thanks, Rich. But with the Broncos having signed Case Keenum at quarterback, they feel like they have a lot more flexibility with that number 5 pick. They can sit and see if one of the draft's 3 best players are available. Saquon Barkley, Quentin Nelson, or Bradley Chubb. Or if the quarterback they really like is still on the board, they would still give that a long look. But in the end, they know their best value will likely be to stay at number 5 and see who's available. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Jeff. Speaking of the Broncos and the Jets, we'll take a look at the top 5 picks in the draft when we come back in Josh Allen's pro day from Wyoming.
Can we finish what we started? Do we have it in us? Because the second we think we've given everything, we're gonna give more. Because this is our moment, and we are made for this!
Whatever you're made for, Gatorade is made to fuel it.
Alzheimer's is a thief. It steals memories. It steals personalities. But every day is a chance to fight for light, to hold on to hope. With Alzheimer's, hope is found in the smallest of moments that remind you why you do all you do. Visit learnaboutalls.com.
Now, TurboTax has CPAs who can review your return with you.
I checked it, ma'am. You're good to go.
See? Nothing to be afraid of at all. Ow. Ow.
Intuit TurboTax.
With the press of a button, you can order 2 medium, 2-topping pizzas for $5.99 each with the new Pie Tops.
Order a pizza on your shoe?
Yes, with the new Pie Tops. And when your pizza arrives, you can even pause the game with the new Pie Tops.
Who called the timeout?
It was Jenny. Her pizza's here.
Who's Jenny?
That's Jenny.
All right, guys, here we go.
Jenny?
Oh, all right, calm down.
Get the official pizza of March Madness delivered. 2 medium, 2-topping pizzas, just $5.99 each, because no one out-pizzas the Hut.
I won't give up, no stopping me now. I'm climbing higher, I ain't coming down.
Coors Light is lagered, filtered, and packaged cold for peak refreshment. Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Can we finish what we started? Do we have it in us? Because the second we think we've given everything, we're gonna give more. Because this is our moment, and we are made for this.
Whatever you're made for, Gatorade is made to fuel it.
Draft, but we know it's probably our place in the studio. It is the draft board. Dan, New York Giants, number 2. How do you picture this one going?
The most interesting team in the draft, the New York Giants sitting at number 2. Will they take a quarterback? Let's assume that Cleveland takes a quarterback. Everybody's giving him Darnold, so put Darnold there. So now what do the Giants do? Well, if Darnold was the only quarterback they like, maybe they trade down. Maybe a Buffalo or a Denver wants to come up and make a deal with them, and they can amass more picks. If they don't like the deals that are being offered, maybe they take a Saquon Barkley, a Quentin Nelson, a Bradley Chubb, right? They made that Jason Pierre-Paul trade. Maybe he looks good as an edge rusher for them. I would personally think that if they don't like the quarterback available to them at number 2, they're open for business and they move down. But with 5 weeks to go, those offers are just going to get better and better and better.
How much do the Giants like Darnold? What's your feel on that?
I think they're high on Darnold. I think my understanding, and it's tough with the Giants because there's been turnover, right? So you don't know like whose opinion's carrying weight there, and so when you talk to people there, you know, I've heard that they like Darnold, I've heard they like Chubb, I've heard they like Barkley and Nelson. Obviously, I mean, you know, these are the best players in the draft. But the question to me is, do they like any other quarterbacks besides Darnold? Because if Darnold goes number 1 to the Browns, do you settle for your second choice? Remember, the Giants have very high standards at this position. The last time they took a quarterback this high, he played 15 years so far and didn't miss a game due to injury and won the Super Bowl twice. That's who the Giants are looking for if they go quarterback. If they don't feel like that guy's there, I think they'll go a different
just
direction.
what you said, look how many directions you were able to go in with that pick. That's why it's the most intriguing pick to me. I think we're all kind of settling in that the Cleveland Browns are going to want a quarterback because they need a quarterback. But then when you get to the Giants, there's so many different ways to go. And the least of those ways is just pick one of the best players on the board because they'll all be available at that time.
This will make the Giants fans happy, right? That's the guy they all want.
Yep. That's correct. Field, for you, who's in the best position near the top of this draft board?
Let's scan a little bit further down here, Jack. And how about the masterstroke of a trade that Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, pulled off with the Jets? I understand why the Jets made that trade. They know they have to get up to pick 3 or maybe even higher than that to secure their top quarterback prospect. We know they want a quarterback at pick 3. The Colts picked up 3 second-round picks plus pick 6 for that 3rd overall pick. And here's the reality. If 3 quarterbacks go off the board before them, which is a very strong likelihood, 1 to the Browns, 1 to the Jets, and 1 to one of these other teams, you're talking about 3 blue-chip, can't-miss prospects in this draft of the non-quarterback variety. We just talked about one of them right there in Saquon Barkley. We've got another one right here in Quentin Nelson, and we got another one right here in Bradley Chubb. Just do the math. The Colts are bound to get one of these guys, and all of them fit a major need for them. Any of them would be a tremendous value at pick 6. Heck, they would have been good value at pick 3.
Absolutely.
Great trade.
Ryan, so the Colts thought that they could move back to, I've never actually done this before.
There you go.
Okay, how about that? There we go.
Oh, we froze.
Got a little glitch
There we go.
So they wanted to get back to 6, thinking they could still get Bradley Chubb. Do they now have to go back up if they want to get Chubb?
Well, listen, I think that's going to be what goes into play on draft night. Do you think after Sam Darnold is drafted early, the New York Giants played the game enough where they think Bradley Chubb will be the guy that they want? But if you're sitting in 6 to 10, I think it's the prettiest place to sit in this draft. You know, everybody else is hungry for a quarterback. You get to go best available, and there will be good players in those slots.
This guy. Don't overlook him. It's a guard, I get it, not sexy. Might be the best player in this draft. He could be an absolute tone setter from the first day he steps on the field.
That is a fantastic. Somebody's got to go get him. Somebody has got to go get him. Running backs are on the move. We'll tell you who has the most miles remaining, who's got the gas in the tank when we return. A ton of veteran running backs changing teams. Frank Gore signed a 1-year deal with Miami yesterday. His 12 straight seasons with 1,200 scrimmage yards is the longest streak in the NFL. Like Gore, Bruiser, LeGarrette Blount signed a 1-year deal and is headed to Detroit, so we know who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. Blunt has won with the Pats in 2016 and the Eagles last year. Dion Lewis heads to Tennessee, bringing some versatility to the Titans' backfield despite his 5'8" frame. Lewis averaged the most yards after contact per rush in the NFL in 2017. Out in Oakland, the Raiders signed Doug Martin, who was released by the Bucs after 6 years in Tampa. An interesting backfield in Oakland with Marshawn Lynch still there. And the Giants' run game needed a boost, so GM Dave Gettleman grabbed veteran Jonathan Stewart. Stewart spent his first 10 seasons in Carolina and is the franchise's all-time leading rusher. Take a look at the backs. A lot of running backs on the move right now. Isaiah Crowell, Jeremy Hill, Carlos Hyde, Chris Ivory, Jerick McKinnon. So there we go. Ryan, as we look at all of these backs, welcome into the Verizon film room. Who stands out to you in that group?
Well, what I look at is not necessarily the player, but some of the teams. You look at the Giants, the Browns, the Jets, all teams we know will be looking to get quarterbacks early on in the draft. So they missed out on the can't-miss prospect at running back, Saquon Barkley. So you go and get some veterans that can fill that role, some veterans that can run the ball, add to your rush game, because early on in the draft, you won't get that high-pick running back and will have to go later. So get a guy that's a known commodity that you can count on during the season.
Dan, which running back has the biggest impact of the group we just saw?
I'm looking at Jerick McKinnon in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan in that offense. And a young quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo who's going to be looking for the check down when things do get rough inevitably, although maybe for Jimmy G they never will. At the rate
will he ever lose a game?
But I think this is a perfect back for the Kyle Shanahan system. I think he can do a number of things for them. He went out and got him. They paid him well. And I think this is someone you can expect to see featured prominently in the 49ers offense this coming season.
Jack, last year, the Detroit Lions' short yardage running game was throwing the football. They had no short yardage running game. The reality was between Amir Abdullah, Theo Riddick, Zach Zenner, Dwayne Washington, there was no back that threatened a defense with power and blunt force trauma, which is LeGarrette Blount's nickname, of course. 1-year deal. And he's the kind of guy, see what I did there? He's the kind of guy that probably is always, he has been at his best when he's had these 1-year prove it, continue to earn it type deals. Gets $2 million in base value, another $2.5 million available in incentives. He's the kind of guy that in the fourth quarter, if you have a lead, defenders don't want to see it. Not defensive linemen, because he's not that much smaller than defensive linemen. Not linebackers, he's the same size as them. And definitely not defensive backs. LeGarrette Blount, a finisher, and obviously great at the goal line.
The hammer, baby. In the Super Bowl, he was too.
Yes.
A look at the most productive running backs for players who began 2017 with a different team. Baltimore's Alex Collins came close to 1,000 yards, while beast mode turned on the Jets in the second half. Latavius Murray stepped in nicely for Dalvin Cook, and we mentioned LeGarrette Blount won a Super Bowl in Philly. Josh Allen, Pro Day workout. We'll see if he can break that deep ball record. That rocket arm will be on display when we come back. Workout in entirety next.
Play action for Josh Allen, steps up, zips it deep for the touchdown. That's called a frozen rope. That is as good a throw as you'll see from a college quarterback. Allen converts again. I think it's all about number 17. Allen flush, keeps the play alive, zips it to the end zone for the touchdown. Josh Allen, it's on. Right, the ball comes out of his hands so fast. That looked like a fastball from a power pitcher. As Allen calls his own number, an easy score for number 17. He lays it down the track, and the ball couldn't be thrown any better. I'd say he's on fire.
He got big-time size, tremendous arm strength, and mobility, athleticism, all wrapped up in Josh Allen at Wyoming.
All right, this is NFL Live. Field Yates, Ryan Clark, and Dan Graziano. Jack Collinsworth with you. Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen's Pro Day workout is just a few minutes away, so Mark Schwartz is with Todd McShay in Laramie, Wyoming. Fellas, take it away.
Jack, this is a great year to be a top college quarterback. Josh Allen is certainly one, and this is his day here in Laramie, Wyoming, along with Todd McShay. And, Todd, there are 17 NFL teams represented at this. We saw Hugh Jackson, part of a large Cleveland Browns delegation. There are 8 in his group. Pat Shurmur is here representing the Giants. They already have a great chemistry with Josh Allen. There are 5 in that group. The Jets are here in strength. The Denver Broncos are here, and even the Seattle Seahawks, who don't apparently need a quarterback.
But you never know.
But you never know. What do you make of the difference between this atmosphere and the one you were seeing 48 hours ago in Southern California with Sam Darnold?
Well, there were more NFL people in Southern California because there were more prospects. You know, you're talking about a running back that could be a second-round pick in Jones. You have two defensive front seven guys for USC that could be in the second day of the draft. So there were more individuals, but you see the teams that really know that they're focusing on these quarterbacks at the top are well represented as you just look through, and we're seeing Josh. According to the script that Jordan Palmer gave me, he's going to throw 55 passes today. We all know about his arm strength. I want to see touch and ball placement. Those are the two things that are inconsistent when I study the tape, and I want to see just naturally, with no defenders, no pads on, I get it, but just naturally comparing him to Darnold just 48 hours ago. Darnold basically put the ball where you ideally would want to put it on about 85-90% of his throws in that workout, and it was pouring rain for the second half of that workout. So we're indoors today, obviously no elements to deal with. He needs to throw the ball accurately all day today.
Now, when you watch him, what about his fundamentals stand out to you as needing to be corrected at the NFL level?
I think a lot of his issues came, I know they came, when he just got sloppy with his footwork. When you're long levered like this, it's easier for things to go awry. And when you're constantly under pressure, which he was this past year, you're now getting yourself into body angles. What you have to do as a quarterback, you see Aaron Rodgers, I think, is as good as anyone, where he, even though he's moving and maneuvering in the pocket and extending plays, he's always ready to pull the trigger. And by that, I mean the base is always underneath him. So hands are on the ball, base underneath, and he's in a throwing position, a really fundamentally sound position. With Allen, that wasn't always the case. And so some of his throws are off because his feet aren't right. Now, when his feet are right, he can be a very accurate passer. And so, again, there's no defenders chasing him down here today, but Jordan Palmer has been working with him and helped develop the script, is going to try to simulate as much of that as he can by moving him around and showing how much he's worked on that footwork in the base.
He does have the ability at 6'5", 233 pounds, though, to extend plays, and that really stands out for NFL scouts.
He does, and he's not quite as mobile as Carson Wentz, who's basically the same exact size coming out of college and played in the same exact system under Craig Bohl and their staff. But I think he is pretty close. He's not far off, and so to have a guy that this size be able to move the way he's able to move and extend plays, and then obviously the arm strength on top of it. But as you see there, these are throws you really need to hit. You really need to be on, and we're going to see if he responds, and that's perfect. I mean, that throw is a perfect example of where you want the ball placed, and you want to see the consistency out of him in all of these throws.
Now, his ball is a very high-velocity ball. It's not that easy to catch.
No, and that's why the touch is so important. And I thought it was really interesting watching him at the Senior Bowl. Mark, the whole week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice, and then in the game, it was very clear that they were coaching him, the Denver Broncos staff, and working with him diligently on touch. You don't need to. It doesn't need to be your 100-mile-an-hour fastball on a skinny post or on a slim crosser. You need to allow your receivers A, to catch the ball, and B, run after the catch. And he was getting better and better as the days went on at the Senior Bowl there, just focusing on taking a little bit off. It doesn't have to be so hard, and you can see almost the light come on with him in that regard.
The Broncos are interested. Gary Kubiak is representing them here today. They do potentially need a quarterback after Case Keenum, who might be a stopgap for them. But, one thing that Craig Bohl told us about Allen is that, even in a workout where he's supposed to throw a bootleg to the fullback, he's looking to throw a back shoulder 70-yard throw into the end zone. And when Bohl said to him, "Josh, what are you doing?" he says, "Well, Favre says touchdowns first." He's all about Brett Favre in his own mind.
He is, and it's like most of us, our greatest strength can be our fatal flaw. So, when you watch Josh, he has that mentality, and Johnny Manziel had that mentality, and Baker Mayfield, coming out of Oklahoma, has that mentality at times.
Whoa!
Nice throw and real nice catch. That's Travis Wilson. Remember old Utah quarterback, 4-year starter at Utah, transitioned to tight end, converted in the NFL, was on the Rams roster. He's actually a free agent now. Worked out with Sam Darnold 2 days ago and flew over here and is getting exposure in front of all these NFL teams.
For a deep ball, that ball was really well placed. Here's another one.
Perfect.
So he can drop it in there real nicely with touch.
He does, and the touch hasn't been a big issue down the field. It's more of the underneath stuff where he's got to learn when. But you see there when he's on and when his feet are right, listen, the Cleveland Browns haven't ruled him out at number 1. And there's talk about the Buffalo Bills packaging picks. They have 5 picks in the top 65 overall, packaging picks to go move up potentially to get this guy. And that if he gets to the Jets at 3, he's not going to get past the Jets at 3. So, listen, I see the flaws just like everybody else sees the flaws. There's inconsistency with the accuracy, and there are times where he needs to dial it back in terms of decision making. But God only makes a few of these. I mean, he has skills that he has an arm like we haven't really seen probably since you go back to like Roethlisberger, Stafford. He's in that elite category in terms of arm strength, the size and the mobility that he has. He's a really good competitor. And a thing that stood out talking to Jordan Palmer, you and I both mentioned it to him with the New York teams. This guy grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, went to a small high school, went to Reedley Community College for a year, comes over to Wyoming. He's never really been on a big stage. And Jordan said that's been the thing that has surprised him the most, is that he's just as much ready to handle something like that as a Sam Darnold, who's been dealing with the LA media the past couple of years as the USC starter. So that to me was interesting.
And that's because the kid, according to his coaches and people that know him, has no pretenses. He's just truthful. He's true to himself and his value system. Grew up in a cantaloupe, cotton and grain farm near Fresno, and the Big Apple doesn't scare Josh Allen. Well, we'll watch Josh Allen's pro day as it continues here. So far, so good for him. Now back to the studios.
There ain't nothing wrong with growing up on a farm. We'll send it back out to Todd and Mark here shortly. They'll have the Wyoming head football coach when we do. Ryan Clark, I want to start with this because we were talking about Jordan Palmer. What an incredible gig he's sort of carved out for
Absolutely. It was smooth, wasn't it?
Right here. So you have Sam Darnold. He put together the script for that one on Wednesday, puts together for this one for today. How many similarities, like how can we compare these two sort of side by side?
I think that's really good. I mean, when you look at pro days, there isn't much that you expect that you can evaluate during. You know what these guys are capable of physically, but now you get to watch 2 of the top prospects basically do the exact same thing back to back, and you don't get that in the game. Josh Allen will never get to throw to USC's receiving core or have USC's running backs. Sam Darnold won't be put in positions against Power 5 teams where he's playing with inferior talent. But what you can see from this is Jordan Palmer, the same coach, trying to teach the same things, a very similar script, and compare those 2 things side by side. Obviously, Sam Darnold had to deal with the elements, but I think this is a new piece of what you can do in comparing these quarterbacks. And Jordan Palmer gets to be the star of probably 2 of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft this year.
Mm-hmm. Dan, what are you hearing people want to see today?
Yeah, again, with Josh Allen, coming off of Sam Darnold's pro day, and a lot of the same people are there, you know, that they go from Southern California to Wyoming while you're out west. You heard about Darnold was he showed off anticipation and timing with his throws. And I think that those kinds of nuanced aspects of quarterback play are what you're looking for here. Everyone's going to look good at their pro day. I mean, the exceptions are ones that stand out. We remember Teddy Bridgewater had a bad pro day, and that supposedly dropped him in the draft, right? So it's designed for you to look good. And to Ryan's point, I'm sure that Jordan Palmer, knowing both of these guys, is going to design a workout that plays to Josh Allen's strengths, as much as I'm sure he did with Sam Darnold. So everybody, you can watch him throw, and I mean, I'm not a scout. We're not sitting here, we're not scouts. You can see how easy it is for him to throw the ball, how effortless it looks for him to throw the ball and to throw it, you know, with pretty good zip. So that's not what people there want to see. They want to see the accuracy. They want to see, again, the anticipation, the timing, and the footwork, and all those things that go into being a successful NFL quarterback. This is a player, no one's going to take him and start him week 1 in September. This is a player you take thinking about what he can ultimately be due to those impressive physical traits. And I think that's what people are going to want to see, what kind of progress he's making in terms of translating those physical traits into successful professional quarterback play.
You know, I think one of the most compelling parts about Josh Allen during this pre-draft process, what I call the golden rule of scouting as it was taught to me, is that remember, we draft traits, we don't draft production. You look over the past 2 years, Josh Allen's completion percentage hovered just north of 55%, as Todd McShay alluded to earlier on this year. He had just one game this past season with more than 248 passing yards. He did not have these wow, blow you away numbers. And there was some curious decision making. At the end of the day, though, NFL teams aren't going to look back and say he had X number of touchdown passes or X number of interceptions. They're going to evaluate the traits involved with that. With the touchdowns, was it good accuracy? With the interceptions, was it poor decision making? And the traits that Josh Allen presents, from a physical standpoint, they're obvious, even when he doesn't have pads. 6'3", 230 pounds, all of it. We talk about the arm strength. And the ball was flying out of his hand right now.
That's unbelievable to watch. It really is.
And it's effortless.
Yeah, it really is.
The question is, though, the traits that you saw on the field that led to some of those interceptions. Was it poor decision-making? Is that fixable? Was it because he was playing under duress? Was it because he felt like he didn't have the same level of skill guys from 2017 as did in 2016? He's a fascinating guy in that way. In some ways, your perception of Josh Allen might be just how much you value the statistical raw data versus how much you are willing to look past some of that. Because, again, Ryan, throwing on air, throwing inside, no pads, it's clear. The kid's got a cannon of an arm and can put the ball where he wants to put it.
And I know this is a name many of you may or may not know, but Josh Booty. Josh Booty, when Peyton Manning came out of high school, both Josh Booty and Peyton Manning were 1 and 2. People were trying to figure out who was going to be the best quarterback of the two. Josh Booty is a top 10 baseball draft pick. He goes to play ball, comes back to LSU. He's throwing around before practice. I'd never seen a ball prettier. I still have not seen someone throw a prettier ball than Josh Booty. 7-on-7, he was absolutely amazing. I'm excited all of fall camp. People got to running in front of him and running at him, and he threw the ball to the other team on a very consistent basis. So what I'm saying
all of a sudden the last name started to make a little more sense.
Right. So what I'm saying is this: when we watch Josh Allen's pro day, I expect to see these things because he has that type of talent. I expect accuracy in this position. I expect him to be able to drive the ball down the field. What you have to do is go back to the film and do some of those things Phil just mentioned. Why are these things happening? Have him sit in front of you and tell you what he was thinking. If he loves Brett Favre in that way, he thinks maybe, you know what? I felt like I could make that throw. And on a team with the type of players I had, I felt like I had to do that. Those are things you have to know if you want to draft Josh Allen.
You know, I covered Josh Booty when I covered the Florida Marlins in the late 1990s.
There you go.
So I remember, and it was the same thing in baseball. He would take batting practice and hit moonshots, but you put him in a game and somebody's throwing curveballs and sliders, he couldn't translate that. So again, this is a player in Josh Allen. He's going to have to get with a good coaching staff. This was mentioned at the top. I think McShay was talking about it right off the top of the show. You have to put him with someone who can develop him. The player he is right now is not going to be a successful player in the NFL. You have to develop him into one. And obviously he's got all the physical ability. There's a laser that scared the heck out of that camera person on the sideline. But you got to get him in. I remember when
Who is
Patrick,
that team then?
Right, that's the thing. When Patrick Mahomes got drafted last year, everybody went, wow, that's fantastic. He's with Andy Reid. He's in Kansas City. That'll develop. So you're going to be looking for a team like that. And at the top of this draft, you know, who is he? Is it Pat Shurmur with the New York Giants?
Absolutely.
Is it Jeremy Bates with the New York Jets? Is it Hugh Jackson and his crew in Cleveland?
Well, I think it's the team that's not yet at the top of the draft, but has the draft capital in the Buffalo Bills to get up there. They're obviously currently picking 12th and 21st in the first round with that extra pick they initially acquired from the Chiefs in that Patrick Mahomes trade. They just signed A.J. McCarron to a 2-year deal, sort of effectively breaks down to a 1-year deal. A.J. McCarron, no great shakes as a long-term starter, but he's a bridge quarterback, right? You signed him to be a bridge quarterback. Buffalo seems to check off a lot of the boxes, what we're talking about in terms of a fit. One thing I add about this is I know we get enamored by these pro days, and Josh Allen has been impressive so far. As you guys were just saying, it's not just when you have the pads on and when you're playing against defense. It's pocket. It's the ability to operate inside of a pocket because as much as we talk about guys that are wizards like Carson Wentz and Russell Wilson get outside of the pocket, it's also what you can do inside of the pocket. You have to be able to win from within there as well.
That is exactly right. We'll send it out to Todd McShay and Mark Schwartz with Wyoming head coach Craig Bohl. Fellas?
All right, Jack. Josh Allen showing us all of his toolkit today and following Jordan Palmer's script here at his pro day. And one of the people watching with intensity, maybe a little nervous intensity, is his head coach, Craig Bohl at Wyoming. And Craig, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. How is it playing out?
I think he's really throwing the ball well. The ball always came out of his hand well, but you can see his footwork has been cleaned up. Some of his timing throws that, I thought needed to improve certainly have improved today. Certainly I feel like a proud father. Coach Vegan and I, we're so proud of Josh, and it's a great day for him and a great day for the state of Wyoming.
When NFL people look at him, what is the first thing that they will see off his arm?
Well, you know what? His arm strength is unbelievable. As you can see right here, he's got great vision, and he can throw the ball deep. He's got great velocity. I said earlier, you can hear the ball, and that's something that's unique. You just don't see that very much. He's a gifted athlete. He's worked on his athleticism, and he can extend plays.
What was it like trying to reel him in at times? Because he's got some Brett Favre.
You know, it's interesting. There's a story I had last year. We were doing a scrimmage up in Casper, and it was a bootleg, throw the ball out in the flat to the fullback, and he chose to throw a 70-yard dart down the field. And I go, what are you doing? Throw the ball to the fullback in the flat. And he goes, Favre says touchdowns first. And I said, that's wrong. Throw the ball to the fullback. So just everybody out there, all the NFL guys, you've got a little Favre in him, I can tell you that, but he can throw it a country mile.
And like Favre, he has an edge to him. How does that play out?
Well, I think that's one of his greatest attributes, that competitive edge. He's not afraid to take a risk. He'll walk the edge. He's a great team player, and he's an ultra-competitive guy. He is a hard-nosed, if he weren't a quarterback, he'd be a heck of a linebacker.
How'd you guys find him? I mean, he was coming out of Reedley College, wasn't recruited, no offers out of high school, and then I think only one other school, is that right, offered him?
Right. Well, that's a little bit of our MO here at the University of Wyoming. Brent Vegan has done a great job. We were the ones that found Carson Wentz also. Yep. And a couple things that were similar. One of them, they were multi-sport players. They weren't the spit and polished where the dad takes them around to every quarterback camp. They played every sport. They worked hard. We dig, and we saw a guy who was a little bit underdeveloped. He had good size, but we saw a heart of a lion. And what has happened since he's got to Wyoming is he's put on about 20-some pounds. He's
looks like a different human being this year than last year, in the championship game.
Without question. And you know what? Those are the things that are going to predict, I think, a great trajectory for him in the NFL. Once again, you can see that ball.
These poor receivers.
Their tongues are hanging out. That's right. Yeah.
Well, not only the altitude, but also the velocity. I mean, not everyone can catch these balls.
No, and you know what? That, quite frankly, is a challenge for some receivers. If you're not used to that ball coming in at that speed, it hurts their hands.
And sometimes their chest.
Yeah, if they're not good receivers.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Craig, you've spent some time with some of the NFL people. You know a lot of them. Just give us an idea, an insight into what kinds of things they're saying about Josh Allen.
Well, you know what? They all look at the tape, and they just see a guy that has tremendous physical ability. And they want to know about his personality. And you know what? They're seeing an ultra-competitive guy. Some of the questions that you guys just asked, you got to reel him back every once in a while. That's true. But I always say this, it's easier to say whoa than giddy up.
Yep.
It is. And so that comes with some of maturity. There's a ton of interest in him, and I understand why.
What was he like this year? I mean, he had a tough decision to make last year. He could have been a first-round draft pick and chose to come back. How did he handle that whole process, and how was he in an offense that had lost some significant players from the year earlier?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Carson, because Carson talked to him and said, listen, Josh, you're in a great system here. This is NFL stuff that you're doing. You're going to walk into a locker room with 35-year-old men, so stay there and learn. So he did. And what I thought was great, certainly all those guys who touched the ball from the previous year are all playing the NFL.
Right.
And this year, he was a champion. He didn't have all those weapons. He never complained. Whatever I got to do, Coach, to help us win, that's what I'm going to do. And, when we played our rival, Colorado State, Mike Bobo, their head coach, said, you know what, Coach? He put that football team on his back, and he beat us. And you know what? I'm ever going to be forever indebted and love coaching him.
His background, being from a small town, playing here in a relatively small town, how do you think that plays out in a place like the Big Apple if he's in that media spotlight?
Well, that's been asked by a lot of guys specifically, and I think his value systems. His mom and dad are tremendous people. His dad's a farmer. His mom used to run a restaurant in town and called the Farmer's Daughter, and he's staying true to who he is. I've since he's even been back. There's certainly maturity, but he understands the pitfalls that are out there, and so whatever media market he's in, he's pretty media savvy. He's light on his feet. He knows who he is, and I think he's going to handle all that stuff. You're looking at a guy that can be a face of a franchise.
We actually were talking to Jordan Palmer earlier, who's spent a lot of time with him recently, and he's with Sam Darnold as well, and they've been competing together every day. But it was interesting hearing from him saying that, I think he'd handle it just as well as Sam Darnold will, who's been at USC and dealing with the LA media. So that's a part that I didn't know about him.
Well, that's a question. A lot of people are saying, okay, at this level, he wasn't heavily recruited. Why can he be projected to go as high as he could? And I can just say, you know what? We know Carson Wentz inside and out. And that market that he's in is a pretty large market as well. It can be a pretty rough market.
Absolutely.
There's so many similarities as far as their personality traits from that standpoint.
Well, if you had to give him a grade to this point, Coach.
I say A+. I mean, I'm seeing that ball come out. I think his accuracy is, he's hard on himself. But I see little things that I think he has improved on. Certainly his timing. I see that. His footwork has gotten cleaned up. And that's part of the maturity. Those are things that you can coach. What you can't coach is a couple things here. Hopefully at the end, you're going to see him be able to throw the ball a long, long way.
We are looking forward to that. Looking forward to the 90-yard throw. Coach Craig Bohl, thank you so much for coming on the set with us. We enjoyed it.
Appreciate the time, Coach.
You bet, guys.
A ton more as the delegation moves to follow Josh Allen into the red zone. We'll flip the field in a moment when NFL Live returns with more from Josh Allen's Pro Day.
Touchdowns first. What have you thought so far? We'll start with you, Field. How is this compared to what we saw from Sam Darnold Wednesday?
I mean, Jack, let's just put it out there. This has been a fantastic showing from Josh Allen. There really hasn't been a ball that has been decisively off the mark. Almost every ball has been exactly where the quarterback would want to put it. Obviously, with Sam Darnold, there was rain involved, which can make things dicier for both the quarterback and the receivers, and it might make it look a little less sexy. But for Josh Allen, in a vacuum, this has been fantastic. You've seen all the stuff in the short to intermediate passing game, and what we're watching right now, I mean, we call that Uncle Rico arm strength. I mean, he's just
not Uncle Rico.
He's just driving that football, 70 yards down the field, 60 yards down the field.
Pretty cool, I guess.
That's right. There we go, Ryan. So it's been a really solid showing from Josh Allen. Again, we're not going to overreact here, but within the context of what a pro day can mean for a player, of course, this has done nothing to hurt the stock of Josh Allen. Let's put it that way.
Ryan, what's the furthest? I mean, you play with Roethlisberger. How does he compare? What's the furthest you ever saw Roethlisberger sling?
Oh, his arm's way stronger.
Really? You're talking about Allen?
Yeah. Josh Allen's arm is way stronger than Ben's. Ben is a football player. Ben can put the ball wherever he wants on the field. There is in no way that he lacks for arm strength. But this guy is on a different level when you talk about arm strength. I was listening when I was looking at Field and he was talking and people were clapping and then all I heard was thump. And that was the ball hitting the hand of the wide receiver. He's elite as far as that is concerned. And if you look back at that incomplete post route he just threw, to me, it's more impressive that it's incomplete because if I know athletes, if I know egos, he overthrew that ball on purpose.
Yeah.
It wasn't, he was like, you know what?
He doesn't want a guy to have to slow down and catch the ball.
Absolutely. He's like, they come here because I have a big arm. I'm going to make sure that they see it. And so I'm okay with that overthrow because he's letting you know I can put this ball anywhere on the field as far as you want it to go.
And that raw arm strength, I'm thinking more about a guy like a Michael Vick coming out than someone like Big Ben. I mean, the guys who could just throw it a mile. But again, what we're dealing with here is a rare talent, a rare skill set. And I think, when we talk about comparing it to Sam Darnold, this is a player in Darnold who's more accomplished at the college level, who has performed at a higher level in actual football games than Josh Allen has.
Right.
So really today, the only thing he could have done was hurt himself, right? Like if he hadn't come out and looked this effortless and awesome throwing the ball. And obviously he checks that box as we would have expected him to.
Right.
Do you remember a pro day going as well as we see this one going right now with
Absolutely.
Josh Allen?
I remember one going better.
Who's that?
Jamarcus Russell.
Okay.
Well, no, my pro day was an absolute debacle. But listen, Jamarcus Russell, he is obviously more infamous.
Sure.
He's obviously more infamous than famous now because of what he was as an NFL player. But the throws he was asked to make and made at his pro day are stuff that legends are made of. The reason he's picked number one is because of that. Because when you watch it, no matter how smart you were and no matter what the film told you, there's no way that you can find a way to not fall in love with it, to not think to yourself, once your ego begins to play a part of it as a coach, that I can do something with that. I can fix the decision making. I can fix the lack of playbook that he had at LSU because he can do certain things. When you look at Josh Allen, somebody's going to say, I can figure it out, and they're going to want him.
Yeah. So they are starting to wrap up with Josh Allen. We'll send it back out to Mark and Todd in Wyoming. Guys, there he is, Josh Allen himself. Right. Looking smooth, man. What a day you just had.
What a day for Josh Allen, fresh off the field, right off the bat. Yep. What's going through your mind right now after what you just put out there?
You know, I'm relieved. You know, this kind of process is dying down a little bit. This is kind of like the last stage of this whole process. So it was great to come back to Laramie, and the altitude up here, get to see my teammates, and get to go out there and throw the football.
Assess it for us. What'd you think? Take us through some of the highlights and if there's anything that you left on the table.
Yeah, I mean, obviously wanted to complete every ball out here. You know, a couple missed throws. You know, we came out, we did what we wanted to do. We showed what we had to. And I thought it was a successful day.
How long was the longest throw?
I don't know. I didn't really get a reading on that, but I was trying to poke it out there.
I think around 85.
I mean, that's one of the things that you have that maybe no one else has. When you rear back and throw, how far can you throw the football?
I think we just kind of saw it there. I don't know a complete yard estimate, but far, I guess.
And what about with accuracy? What strides do you think you made and showed scouts today?
You know, working with Jordan Palmer, showed a lot of good footwork, delivered the ball where it needed to be on time, and like I said, there's a few missed throws. Wish I had those back, but you know, we're moving on. And you know, it's been a blessing working with Jordan. You know, he's done a really good job with all the quarterbacks he's been working with. You know, blessed to have him on my side.
Take us through the rest of the pre-draft process for you. What do you have lined up in terms of team visits and private workouts?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the usual suspects out there right now. Team's looking for a quarterback. I'm going to go visit their places. Got one more private visit lined up for me here, and then, you know, we're 33 days away from draft day.
Did you say 10 teams in 15 days? Is that
Something
right?
like that, yes. A lot of flights.
What's it like to sit down with NFL execs? I mean, how difficult is it for you? The questions that they ask are not always very simple, are they?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's difficult. You know, everybody's got to do their due diligence in finding the quarterback for their team. I think it's super fun. You know, talking to some of the great minds in football. You know, it's a blessing that I'm here. I was in junior college a few years ago, so to be sitting down with these guys and being able to talk about football and possibly being, you know, the quarterback of their team is super fun.
Yeah, what's this been like for you? You think back, I mean, small school, you were 6'4", 185 pounds. You're not recruited out of high school. Mm-hmm. You wind up at Reedley Junior College, and then you only get a couple offers, come to Wyoming. Talked to you last year before you had a tough decision to make whether to come back or not, had some ups and downs this year, but what has this whole process been like for you? I mean, just think back to being like a little kid on that farm.
Yeah, it's a dream come true. You know, being a professional quarterback is the only thing I've ever dreamt of. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So sitting here and actually going through a pro day, doing the combine and the Senior Bowl and stuff like that, things that I watched growing up, and seeing those kind of come into my life, it's been surreal. And, you know, I'm taking everything with a grain of salt because it could be taken away like that, but I'm having fun while I'm doing it.
How has being overlooked by every college in America shaped your personality and who you are right now?
You know, I think it really made me work harder, put a chip on my shoulder, and just knowing that, you know, I had one offer coming out of junior college, none out of high school. That was University of Wyoming, so I was going to give them everything that I had because they were fully invested in me. I went out there with a chip on my shoulder and tried to compete as much as I could every day.
How much do you channel Brett Favre, Josh?
You know, I loved watching him growing up, just the gunslinger mentality. You know, he had a cannon for an arm, and, you know, I looked up to him a lot when I was younger, and, you know, that's a quarterback that I'll always love watching.
All right, you saw it. Josh Allen, a pretty impressive performance here at altitude, throwing the ball 80 yards down the field, and he nearly hit the. Were you worried about hitting the roof there?
No, I wasn't worried. We'd practiced that throw a couple times, but
we were.
You know, it was possible.
We thought he was going to hit the top of the roof, which is about 4 miles high. Back to you guys.
Pretty impressive pro day and a pretty impressive interview. Wouldn't you say? Who are we giving the interview edge to, Darnold or Allen?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I was just telling Field, which is why I work at ESPN and I'm not an exec. Coming into today, I had Josh Allen way far down the quarterback list, right? So that's me watching film, watching games, and now I like him more than everybody. And I think that's how it happens. That's how it happens to guys, though. Right. Listening to him talk afterwards, he was engaging, he was charismatic, he had the correct answers, and then watching his arm strength and how the pro day looked. That's how you fall in love with people. He was more impressive. If we're going to take the 2 pro days, both the interview and on field, much more impressive than Sam Darnold to me. I understand Sam Darnold had the elements.
You realize it's not overreaction Monday, right?
Well, that's all I do. I work every Monday during the season, Dan.
I think it's good. I mean, look, he looked great. He looks great. And he's supposed to look great here, and we'll see how the process unfolds for him going forward.
Get used to this term over the next 33 days, as Josh just alluded to. Arm talent. Arm talent. He has it. We talk about that with quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford. Way back in the day with Brett Favre. In today's NFL, I would say that Carson Wentz has a bunch of arm talent. Jared Goff had arm talent that same year. Josh Allen has arm talent. Again, though, it's about deciphering the things that you did not like during his college tenure, which was the poor completion percentage versus the things that you love when you see the pro day. And Ryan, I will say this, as much as I think that NFL GMs are not going to try and overreact to just one piece of the puzzle with the pro day, a quarterback, perhaps more so than any other position in pro sports, is not just about what you do on the field, but it's about how you comport yourself both in the huddle, in the locker room. You play with quarterbacks, probably rub you the wrong way because you walk by them in the hallway and they keep their head down, they keep walking. Other guys, they might dap people and say, hey, Ryan, good to see you. And that stuff matters because you have to be the player that when you know what's hitting the fan, guys can turn to and say, I believe in him. And that can be just as much about what you do on the field as it is off the field. How you carry yourself, the way you encourage your teammates, your energy, your vibe. And Josh Allen seems to have a good one today.
Once again, growing up on a farm, it ain't all bad. You saw it translate right there. So now all of the top 4 quarterbacks have held their pro days. Strengths and weaknesses. Start with Josh Allen. What you saw today, Wyoming quarterback, strengths and weaknesses, where do you lean?
Well, again, the traits versus the production. The traits are obvious. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's got ideal physical stature, 6'3", 230-some pounds. He's athletic, functionally athletic. I mean, Andrew Luck may have been the best athlete in terms of time speed, but he's functionally athletic. Josh Allen, again, you're not the fastest quarterback, but functionally athletic inside and outside of the pocket. But the production was bad. That's the part that you have to reconcile for Josh Allen. The completion percentage, it was closer to 55% than it was 60%. Not a lot of track records of quarterbacks that have had that number and gone to success in the NFL.
Dan, USC's Sam Darnold, where do you go?
Sam Darnold, one of his strengths that I've heard over the past couple days is that he seems to be able to elevate his game under the bright lights, when, in the big games. And, we've seen him perform. This most recent bowl game, not so much. The one 2 years ago, definitely. Yes. We've seen him perform in big games, in big moments, and that's obviously the kind of thing you're looking for if you're looking for a franchise quarterback at the top of the NFL draft. We've heard that he's the safest one of these guys. He's clean in terms of intangibles, et cetera, et cetera. Weaknesses, people are looking at those 22 turnovers from this past year, and they want to know why that happened. His hand size measurement was a big deal at the combine, right? They wanted to make sure it came in big enough, and it did, because if that was the reason for the turnovers, that's not fixable. Right. If decision-making is the reason for the turnovers, then maybe you can get with him and address some of the issues. So that's what people are looking at with Sam Darnold, and we'll see. But as of this point, it seems like he's a guy people think very highly of, much like Josh Allen in terms of what he can blossom into.
I will say this about Sam Darnold. Of these 4 quarterbacks, he's the one I actually got to see in person. And the first pass he threw in warm-ups, and I guess I'm a big warm-up guy now.
I guess so.
The first pass that he threw, I said, okay, he has it. Because up until that point, watching him throughout the season, other than very early, he wasn't as good as people build him. He wasn't taking that next step from who he was against Penn State in the Rose Bowl the year before. But I saw that. I saw some other throws that let me know physically Sam Darnold has it. But now you do have to evaluate why the turnovers. And, names like Matt Ryan are mentioned and Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck, guys who turned the ball over in college. But we've also seen those things rear their head in the league. So that is a process that you're going to have to really dive into when it comes to Sam Darnold.
After everybody fell in love with Darnold on Wednesday, and it was like, everyone's diving on this train. Now that we saw Allen work out, all of a sudden, does that change the way that this whole picture is looked at?
I honestly think, though, that you feel that they did what they were supposed to do. If you watch the tape, if you understand who the guys are, you know who they are. You just didn't want to see them bomb. It couldn't be Teddy Bridgewater's pro day. It couldn't be a pro day you left going, man, the ball dribbled to guys, it hit the ground. You expected those things. They didn't show you anything today or Wednesday when Sam Darnold went that is going to make you certain that he's your guy. You have to continue the process of getting to know the quarterback.
Field strengths and weaknesses will go to Baker Mayfield at this point.
I mean, surreal accuracy. You're talking about pinpoint Drew Brees type accuracy in some of the throws he was asked to make in that system at Oklahoma. Unbelievable. And under pressure, very good as well. He's nifty. He's nimble inside of the pocket. Look at him escape these rushes and make throws like that on the run. That right there is unbelievable. I mean, he is a guy that consistently showed in clutch production time he could make the throws he needed to make. In terms of weaknesses or question marks for Baker Mayfield, I'd say along those same lines. How about being under duress when you have a different, more conventional pro-style offense? We didn't see a ton of that from him. And then also playing under shotgun. Again, a lot of NFL offenses run a ton of snaps learners from shotgun formations. But there are some that might ask him to be a play under center quarterback. And if you're a team that currently runs a, again, I use air quotes here, pro-style offense where 65 to 70% of your snaps come from under center, are you willing to make that investment in Baker Mayfield? It may sound subtle, but a quarterback that's used to taking the ball like this versus one that's about to put his hands under his center and now take the ball, that's a difference. May sound rudimentary, but it's a big part of the evaluation.
I think when you're evaluating these quarterbacks now, more of the evaluation goes to that because whether these guys are dual threat or not, a lot of these college quarterbacks play from the shotgun. That's the way that their offenses are ran. It's becoming more of a fad in the NFL as well. You watch Russell Wilson, he takes a lot of snaps out of the shotgun. You also saw Carson Wentz take a ton of snaps from the shotgun this year. So offenses are understanding you have to turn yourself into or develop a system that the quarterback you drafted can play. And I think that will be what you have to evaluate when you're looking at Baker Mayfield.
Definitely. Let's go to the forgotten man, perhaps. Josh Rosen. Dan, strengths,
you guys kind of look alike for the record. You and Josh Rosen.
I was actually thinking that.
A little bit. I like that. That might be a weakness. I don't know.
While I was listening to Field talk about Mayfield, my mind was wandering. No offense. It does that on Fridays. I was thinking about Josh Rosen. NFL teams will tell you this is the most refined pocket passer, operator of the pocket of anyone in this group. As a pure thrower from the pocket, footwork, everything he does is on a level where he could translate to the NFL at this moment. And I think that's a big factor. I mean, you know, you're talking about any number of these guys are going to be asked to do things at the pro level that they weren't asked to do at the college level, and it's how quickly they can learn to do it. So if he's that far along in those kinds of things, that should help his case. Weaknesses, he's got a little bit of an injury history, right? He's had some things that have kept him off the field, and if those things are the kind of, are going to rear their head again at the pro level, you do have to wonder if you have to worry about how much are we going to have him. But his pro day was last week, and I heard rave reviews coming out of that in terms of the interaction. You know, something you said about how these guys interact with the teams away from the cameras when they're not throwing, when they have interviews, when they have conversations with decision makers. That's a big part of the pro day too. And from what I was told, Josh Rosen aced that part of it.
Well, if you look at Josh Rosen, he's one of those kids that, you know, his dad looked at him a long time ago and said, hey, son, you're going to play NFL quarterback. And we're going to teach you how to do it. You're going to learn how to do it from a football standpoint, but also from a leadership standpoint, being able to communicate, do the certain things you have to do from that position. And if I'm Josh Rosen, I want to get out of the conversation with these other quarterbacks and maybe get pushed back a little bit to be with the better team. Because when you look at his game, maybe ceiling-wise, he's not where some of these other guys are. But I think he's the type of guy you can plug into a system, put into a playbook, and he understands it. He can control it from the pocket. He can get the offense ready to go and can probably play a little bit earlier than some of these other guys. So I think Josh Rosen, though he seems to be forgotten when we're talking about the talent side of this, the readiness to play quarterback at the next level, I don't think he can be overlooked.
I mean, his own call, you know, there were some who thought maybe even one more year at UCLA would have been a worthwhile investment for Josh Rosen. He has got just, you know, beautiful throwing skills when he has time and space and when he's healthy, which is something that we saw at times during UCLA. I mean, he walked onto campus as the next great thing in college football, and fairly or unfairly, he seems to be the one of these four that people are still trying to figure out personality-wise how he's going to gel with not some of the guys in the huddle, but the entire organization. He's got a certain confidence about him that some people love and say we need that bravado, and some people, fairly again or unfairly again, are a little bit off put by Sometimes it works in the NFL and it comes out to smash success. Other times it can be a sticking point. I tend to think that Josh Rosen is more likely to succeed than not at the next level.
And he also put that hot tub in his dorm room. You guys seen that?
Yes, freshman year.
If you haven't, you need to Google
Who
that.
among us would not have done that
if you could,
we had the chance?
absolutely.
That's what I want.
Let's not hate on the hot tub. That's all I'm saying. Challenge flags coming your way next. It's Friday. You know what it means.
Oh.
We got over 4
One.
That was super
was caught.
unathletic. One.
Play this game in a vacuum, right?
Oh, there's a reason. First of all,
NFL.
I said I don't know.
I'm going to dinner. I'm going to these meetings.
They invite you.
I'm
You gotta
trying,
go,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, I'm trying to impress them.
Listen.
I like them.
I agree with everything Jeff said.
Okay, that's it?
What
That's
do you
me.
mean?
Yeah. We would never have run into a bunch of trees. Man. Oh, what? Listen. Yes.
This year was the night that the fairy godmother came down and he turned Case Keenum into a steed. You know what I mean? Case Keenum was.
Listen.
I see what you're doing here, Susie. Build the suspense.
I was in this motion
Wait,
here.
hold on. Let's get.
That was football's not played in a vacuum.
And if you're playing along, if you've got in a vacuum in the NFL Live drinking game. Oh, Lord have mercy.
You just had a little twinkle in your eye when I said that.
You can look in my eye and know what I'm thinking.
All of his twinkles are backed by. Sometimes you miss Adam because he's getting very important calls.
And other times, he's texting, tweeting, or reading through his Instagram messages. We're never quite sure.
And he didn't do it in a vacuum.
No. Oh.
You're welcome.
Yeah, listen.
You're welcome to your Monday afternoon
Tom Brady's
party.
in here.
What a week it has been. We conclude the week with the news that Alan Hearns is on his way to the Cowboys. Question is, what does that mean for Dez Field?
Well, we'll see, Jack. Certainly been some speculation this offseason about the possibility of him getting a restructured contract or possibly even cut. I also think this is tied to Terrence Williams, dealing with some health issues himself this offseason. The Cowboys this week have added Alan Hearns and Deontay Thompson to a pass-catching core that also includes, besides Dez and Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley and Ryan Switzer, plus Noah Brown. So some depth there in Dallas. Might be some difficult decisions to make along the way.
It is a Friday here on NFL Live. That means that we have the Allen Bags pocket and at lead, or maybe not pocket.
Well, hey, guys, you know, I'm just like one of those coaches that carries it in his sock.
Bill
you know
Belichick style,
I'm
baby.
the flag. Oh, they're the flag. Hey, listen, teams, I know you're starved for a quarterback. Don't make yourself fall in love with one. If you like him, draft him. If not, get the best player on the board. That's the reason you stink anyway.
My challenge, again, Bill Belichick style. To the Buffalo Bills, go ahead and go up and get your quarterback. It's not going to be easy at pick 12. You're going to have to move into the top 5. Maybe Josh Allen could be the man of your desire.
I challenge Giants GM Dave Gettleman to nail this draft. No picks left on the Giants roster that they drafted in 2010 to 2013. That's bad.
Why not for a little Johnny Manziel? Has the fiance at this point? Give the man a chance. Give him the Hockey coming your way next.